Supposed to.
Yes, sir.
No, but I have one of these. It's a white. That's one white.
You have any chocolate chip cookies?
Oh,
I have M&M's.
I got peppermint.
They're no good.
I got peppermint.
I'm just kidding. Thank you.
Okay. What?
Your mic is on.
Oh, gee.
We'll begin in 1 minute.
Look.
The meeting of August 20th, 2021 will come to order. Do we have any special intentions? Special intentions? Seeing none, will Councilmember McKinney, will you please
Yes,
lead us in the
Council
prayer?
Chairman?
Yes.
Sorry. I want to remember two of our Kenner firemen that are in the hospital right now. One's in East Jefferson and one is in Hammond, both suffering from issues of COVID. So let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman McKinney, if you'll lead us in prayer.
Lord, thank you for this day and the opportunity to come together to make decisions for our community and work together for the best of Kenner. On this day, please give us direction, fortitude, and grace to deal with anything that may lay ahead. May we seek your guidance and work steadfastly in your name. Amen.
Councilman Segura, if you'll lead us in the pledge.
Sure. Everyone, please join me. Please hand in your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum. Is there any resolutions, motions, or other items from the floor? Seeing none. Under the consent agenda, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of August 5th, 2021. Item 2 is approval of bingo of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Divine Mercy Catholic Church on August 8, 2021, October 8, 2021, October 9, 2021, and October 10, 2021 at 4337 Salentini Parkway, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 2243-21, Devoted Dreamers Foundation to hold a public gathering on August 27, 2021 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the purpose of a community event dinner in the park at Kenner City Park Pavilion, 3800 Loyola Drive in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Mayor Zahn, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Council Chairman. Thank you, Council. We did a code sweep this past week, 3100 block of Idaho in District 2 with the help of Councilman Segura's office. We did find some fascia and soffit issues, fence repair, high grass and weeds, warning violations, and verbal warnings. Not a lot going on in that area, but we did do a few things, and we have seen some issues in that area. We have two things that are on the agenda for today in my mayor's comments that I'd like to talk about. The first thing is an update from Doug Dote about COVID-19, and then that will be followed by an update on what's going on by Dave Sherman, who will come here today as our legal advisor, but also as a board member of the Kenner Discovery School. As Councilman Brennan and I are very much aware, along with the two at-larges, and I'm sure all of you all, that we have been suffering from some issues with the redoing of their traffic plan, and also with St. Elizabeth, both of them trying to enter and exit around the same time. So I do want to thank Mr. Sherman before he steps up after Mr. Dote for the things that he has done, because he's been able to express to Kenner Discovery how important it is for us to work this out. So we'll first go with Doug on COVID-19 updates, and then again, Dave Sherman. And I do want to thank Dave for what he's done, because it's really worked out well between the City of Kenner and Kenner Discovery. And I also want to thank Dr. Patty Glazer for working with us through Dave. So Doug, you want to step up, and it'll be followed by Dave.
Yeah.
All right, then we'll go with Dave Sherman first, waiting for Doug to get here. Sorry about that.
Sure.
Good morning, council members. The mayor has asked me to give a brief update regarding the situation that you all are all aware of with Kenner Discovery, and it's a good news update. Last Friday, the mayor contacted me and asked me to basically serve as mediator, since I do legal work for the city, but I'm also on the board of Kenner Discovery, to help resolve a parking issue and to work with the school in connection with certain traffic issues. Dr. Glazer, who I think all of you know, who is an absolute rock star, probably the #1 head of any school in the country, opened the school this year. First time the school was up to its maximum capacity. And as is always the case with schools that reach this type of capacity for the first time, there were parking issues and there were traffic issues. In connection with the parking issues, the school found that they were close to 25 spaces short on the campus for the cars that were parking. That includes faculty, staff, and seniors. So Dr. Glazer worked with Mayor Zahn, who stepped up and also did an absolutely phenomenal job, because you had a very explosive situation, but things were worked out, and a cooperative endeavor agreement has been drafted. Councilwoman McKinney also was a help. We talked yesterday. A CEA has been drafted that City Attorney Soller and I worked on. The school has accepted it. They're going to send it back. I told Councilwoman McKinney that certainly I'd like her to look at it, and then the mayor is prepared to sign it. But the CEA simply allows the school to use the shell lot adjacent to the dog park to park overflow vehicles for faculty, staff, students, and invitees. And the school will be fully responsible for any and all liability in connection with its use of the lot. It will indemnify the city, hold the city harmless, and the school has agreed that in the event it wants to pave the lot, which it ultimately will want to do, it will do so at its expense. So the city will get an improved lot. So the parking situation appears to have been alleviated. As far as the traffic situation, I know Dr. Glazer has been working with the chief and has said the chief has been nothing but helpful, and between the chief and the mayor and Dr. Glazer, they're working out the U-turn situation between St. Elizabeth and Kenner Discovery, and hopefully the traffic situation will also be satisfactory to all involved. So I talked to Dr. Glazer an hour before the meeting. She is thrilled with the way things are working out, and hopefully St. Elizabeth is, and all the subdivisions that have been impacted. Any questions?
I wanted to thank you for your work, Mr. Sherman. Tom Wilmot here in the middle. But I wanted to ask you too, if you could just name your law firm and its address?
My law firm?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
For the
sure.
record, yeah.
Jahardy Sherman Williams.
And their address?
We're at 1 Galleria Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana, 70001. That was a trick question. No one ever asks you your physical
Okay.
address anymore.
All right. I just had to ask those things. We typically do. And
His phone number, Tom.
anybody else have any questions? Yes. Councilwoman McKinney.
Thank you, Council President. Okay. Thank you, Council President. Mr. Sherman, thank you for taking my call, and thank you for listening to, my feedback. I think it's really important, especially as a parent who has been sitting in those car lines the past 5 days, 7 days, however many days it's been. I think it's definitely a work in progress. I think it's something that, we obviously want to have as, the school community obviously wants to have as little as impact on the traffic in the area, but while also balancing the safety issues. So I think that it's, working together to make sure that we're coming to an agreement, because the Kenner Discovery community is so important to the Kenner, because it's such a big part, and also, attracts people to move to the city of Kenner as well. So I think making sure that it's a win-win situation for, the members of the community that are affected, as well as the parents. And then the students, of course. The students are the ones who are impacted the most. It's a different year this year with 5th through 12th grade. That's 7 grades there, full capacity. It's just something that we're going to need to work through. And then also it's important to look to the future, because in the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to have pre-K through 12th grade there, and that's going to be even more of an impact. So just looking forward, making sure that we're considering all these issues. I know there was a traffic study done by Councilman Impasato's office as well. So implementing those things and making sure that we are forward thinking and working hand in hand with Kenner Discovery is just really vital. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being the intermediary.
Thank you. And we have Councilman Brennan. I believe you want to ask for that phone number?
That's it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Council Chair. Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Thanks for all your work and assistance with that. As Councilwoman McKinney said, this will be a work in progress. We'll monitor it between the administration's office, the schools, the chief of police and such. But thanks everybody for working this out and getting this done.
Okay. We have Mr. Dotis. He's not present.
If you would mind, just if we could move on with the meeting, and when he gets
Come
here,
back.
he had another thing he had to go take care of. He's on his way. He's running a little bit behind. I apologize. But if we could move on, if you don't mind, when he gets here, just kind of break in just for an update.
Perfect. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot on the consent agenda. Council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. We have none. Item 9A is ordinances for the sale, purchase, transfer, lease, and/or alienation of movable property. We have none. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 12,884, an ordinance amending the Kenner Code of Ordinances, Chapter 15, Section 23, to add and delete traffic control signs for the Department of Public Works. Have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Hayes.
Councilmember Segura, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, as we just dovetail off of this other discussion for the main campus, this is the original campus on Main Street where, certainly because of the school being in the middle of a subdivision, we do have these concerns with traffic that pop up. And so, as Councilwoman McKinney mentioned, Councilman Impostata had commissioned a traffic study on his own, through his department because of the traffic backed up into Metairie from the school. And as I recall, back in 2014, when I first got on the council, there was a traffic study done by the city to help facilitate movement of traffic right when the school was opening there. But since things had changed, they needed to have another study. And we wound in the same position, trying to help mediate traffic, trying to get to the school and the residents who live in and around it. So what we have now is a tweaking of that plan, and what it will resolve in is we're doing here is removing some traffic signs so that we can move the traffic a little different and hopefully help out the problem. But as can be expected, when you do one thing, you're going to create a problem somewhere else too. So this is a test to see how this new plan will work out. So all we're doing is helping the parish out by removing some traffic signs that were put up from the first traffic study to allow this second traffic study to take its course. So appreciate any support for that. Thank you.
Can we have Mr. Schreiner, if you can make comment on this one?
Council President, be glad to. The biggest change on this change is that we've split the two drop-offs into two. We have one section coming in from the north off of Veterans, and we have the other coming in from the south. So before, the lines were all combined into one line, and that was the big problem. Now you have them segregated. You have the K through second coming in from the south, and the third and fourth coming in from the north, and the drop-off spots are different. So that's a big change. It looks very promising to me.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Schreiner. Madam Clerk?
Council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. We have none. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,873. An ordinance approving an agreement for Phase 3 evaluations at the Pontchartrain Convention and Civic Center with the Solution Corporation in an amount not to exceed $135,000. I have a motion by Councilmember Hayes, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan.
Councilmember Brannigan, you have the floor.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, I know that we have to go outside for audits and stuff, and I don't have a problem with going to Phase 3. But when I looked at the legislation, and it says that the contractor has completed phases 1 and 2, and we have paid for phase 1 and 2, and the only thing that I have on phase 1 and 2 is a copy of a report that is from Ms. Fauché. It's an unfinished draft report, informational purpose only, and it's confidential. And if it says that the contract has completed phase 1 and 2, why don't we have a report for both phase 1 and 2 if we've already paid for it?
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to have a presentation from the Sternhels for you. Not all consulting agreements end up in reports. Some of them are basically advice. This one should end up with 2 reports, phase 2 and phase 3. we'll end up with one final report, is my understanding. But I'd really like to defer to the Sternhels, if that's okay, Councilman?
That's fine, that's fine. I'll hold my comments till then.
Councilmember Hayes, you have the floor, unless you want to wait until Mr. Sternhill makes comment.
I'll wait.
And Councilman Carroll, would you like to wait as well? Okay. Mr. Sternhill? Please provide your name and address of your company.
Great, thank you. Colin Sternhill, Solutions, the name of the company, and 330 North Carrollton, New Orleans, Louisiana 70119. But this is with Bob Sternhill as well.
Good evening, thank you. Bob Sternhill, founder of the company, now semi-retired, wishing I was retired. Colin, why don't you start it off?
Okay. The draft report to begin with, that first one, phase one, was really just a kind of a broad spectrum overall information that was done quickly at the end of last year in September. The second phase was very informational for the administration. They came, we wanted to, and we will want to give more of a formal presentation to the whole council, kind of later on what we see from phase two and phase three, to kind of provide an update of what we're looking at. We're looking at anything from, we brought in a specialized architect, Virgis Rome is working with us on architecture and looking at that. We brought Accent DMC, which is a, what's the best way to describe it? An event management company that's been around for 40 years. We're bringing together a whole team to kind of describe and see the best way the facility can be used, looking at finances, looking at events, looking at more sporting events, looking at outside, how can outside, this meeting space, kind of everything, and what can come in and help. And so our goal is, for phase one, it was really just a broad spectrum review. Phase two was kind of giving advice about what can be done, ideas that were brought up in that first report, that draft confidential report, as well as looking at the current management team, which is ASM, looking at them, seeing how they're doing, what's going on, how we can help provide guidance on maybe some adjustments into the events that are coming out. But that's a lot of what phase one and two were. Phase three is to dig deeper into the weeds, find out specifically the best way to help them get better events for the constituents of Kenner, for the council, the administration, for the city. Bob probably has a little more.
I can't read.
It doesn't seem like 30 years ago, but 30 years ago we were asked by the city of Kenner to monitor and help manage the initial 3 years of the Pontchartrain Center. And then, of course, we've been doing other things, but we still retain that background. From our perspective of 30 years passed as if it was yesterday. And everybody was so pleased, and I know we were, and the city was so pleased, but that the center was the first significant statement by the city of its intention to be a major force. And then the city stepped back. They were pleased, and they should be, and they should have been. So 30 years passed. Nobody really looked at it. 5 different administrations, dozens of council members. We were all satisfied. But then the current administration asked us to revisit the issues to see if there were problems. We thought there were going to be problems because funding was threatened because of the pandemic. I don't think this was planned. I don't think it was anybody's expectation or of hope. But I think the administration thought that we might be in the situation of having to cough up as much as $1 million every year for the next several years. And that's probably an unacceptable outcome. So our deep dive, as Colin just described it, was to come back from 30 years of quiet oversight, meaning everybody was pretty satisfied. And we found a lot of things that we thought were good, and we also found a number of things that needed serious revision. My only regret is that we didn't come and start meeting with the council until just 3 or 4 weeks ago. We have not consulted with you, and that was not an administration instruction. We were just buried with the number of projects that we're working on. I don't see how this city moves forward without collaboration from the administration and the council in a very close and continuous way. And from our side, that's what we would very much hope. I'm also pleased that the mayor has said to me, Bob, why haven't you guys met with the council? And the answer was, it was an oversight. So let me apologize here. I've done that before. Going forward, I know I'm taking maybe a bit too much time, but I think you would be interested. The phase 2 that Councilman Brannigan is referring to is on paper in partial form, in recommendations, in the steps we need to take. We now know the steps we need to take. Now is the time, more than anything, to start meeting with the council as well as the administration and hammer out the issues. There are a lot of issues, guys, ma'am. And I think that we're going to be busy consulting and working with you, as well as with the administration and our experts that we brought in so many areas, including other managers of arenas. So we're getting a balanced view of what's fair, what's possible. I hope I've kind of summarized where we've been, where we would like to go, and Colin, you may want to add some stuff.
I know we've taken up a good bit of time. The last thing that he brought up is we're doing a deep dive into other arenas in the area, local area, and specifically getting a lot of help from a friend of ours that will be a great addition is the UNO Lakefront Arena. We're friends with the executive director, the director there, and he's giving us input on how to get certain events, how to get sporting events, how to help the constituents around the area. And I know we spoke for way too long, but sorry about that. Yeah, and that's what we have. What other?
You ready for some questions?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Hayes.
Well, Dr. Sternhill, I agree about the close coordination and collaboration. However, I don't know if everybody up here has even seen what has been done yet, the verbiage. I see Councilman Brannigan does have the study. I think it would be good if, I hate to defer this again, but I do think it'd be well worth everybody's time to defer it until everybody has in print where we are now, because we know we're losing money. We know we have a problem, and we need to work to make it happen. So it'd be my recommendation, just based on your comments right now, that we defer this again until everybody has in hand what has been done so far and your information and your suggestion in terms of what we need to do going forward.
Councilman, I understand your position. It was my expectation that the first and only completed report has been circulated to all council members. Is that not true?
Well, let us ask. I have seen it, but it's in my district. I should be seeing it.
Well, I think we have Ms. Foshi's going to be speaking shortly. She could address that question. But before we get to that, I think we have somebody else in the queue. So if you have any other questions, we can hold that one.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Well, I'd just like to ask relatively quick right now, who has seen the report and who hasn't?
Okay, Ms. Foshee, can you address that? Ms. Foshee?
I can see that I sent it to Councilwoman McKinney, and then I asked that Dr. Sternhill meet with all council members at that point. So I'm sorry if it didn't get, I'm looking on my phone in the emails, I'm sorry if it didn't get circulated to anybody besides Councilwoman McKinney. But I presume it was discussed at the meetings.
We have met with most of the council. We've I think 5 of the 7 council members. I, of course, have copies, and I think the city has copies of the first report. I'm a little bit taken aback. I don't know what to say. We will gladly send out copies to each of the members today.
Council Chairman.
Yes, Mayor.
The fault of the administration, obviously miscommunication between us and Doc Sternhill and the solution group. We will make sure that each and every one of y'all have a copy. I guess he assumed we were doing something, and I assumed he was doing something. So I'm not faulting him, I'm not taking the fault, just that we should have made sure that each one of y'all had it and everyone spoken to. I was under the impression that all the council was spoken to. Who was not spoken to on the council? So we know how to.
No, I believe that I got a copy as well.
That's what we were under.
One, and in addition to that, I had spoken to Mr. Sternhill at some length.
We're under the impression everyone got a copy. We're under the impression everyone was spoken to. Has anyone
Mayor?
not been in a meeting with Dr. Sternhill?
But I wonder if that's the issue. Is the issue that, or?
Well, that's one of the issues, and also not getting the report. But if you didn't make the meeting, then you probably didn't get the report, because.
Well, it's the report. The report is on phase 1. We have phase 2.
So,
now we're starting phase 3, and we have nothing on phase 2, and phase 1 is confidential.
Right. So
that is the confusion.
Right. And my confusion is who has not met with Dr. Sternhill?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. We have tried to meet with all 7 and have spoken with 6 members. I was unable to contact
Councilman Carroll?
Right. Although we tried.
Okay, so let us defer this, and all those things will be taken care of. Councilman Carroll, if you could meet with Dr. Sternhill before that next meeting, that would be helpful, and we'll make sure we get a copy to everyone before the next, actually today. I'm done.
Thank you, Mayor. And Councilman Hayes, do you wish to make that motion?
I move that we defer. Do I have a second?
Madam Clerk?
Motion by Councilmember Hayes, seconded by Councilmember Segura, for 1 meeting or 2 meeting?
1 meeting.
1 meeting deferral. Any discussion on deferral?
Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
1 second.
You got me? Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Sternhill, first, I'd like to just apologize for not getting back. You did reach out to me to be able to talk, and I am glad that my fellow councilperson, Mr. Hayes, suggested the deferral. I definitely can support that. But as you mentioned in your comments, this has been part of 5 administrations, the overall Pontchartrain Center challenges. Full disclosure, I have been part of 3 of those administrations for that. I am as much fault as anybody in this room, but the ability to solve the problem is, I'm glad that we're getting started with this. We will talk. I have spoken to a couple of the council members based on your conversation with them, which I think is great, but I just think, excluding this administration and others, there have never been a formal conversation, communication plan for this building from this administration and all the others that I have been on. And as well as the intentions are nothing against anyone, that should have happened first before you guys even came on, so we could have had an opportunity to converse with the administration some of our concerns, particularly myself, who's been around a little bit longer than some of my colleagues, to add into what we will have to ask. I think it is important that we should have been afforded a copy of a report after the first and definitely after the second before moving on to a third, because what it does, it gives us an opportunity to see what you guys are coming up with formally, as opposed to just getting it cumulatively for one. I don't think that's the way it should be. I think it should be something in the contract that stipulates after so many days, a report should be generated to us. And I'm not sure if that's in that or not, but if it is, obviously we've exceeded that time frame because we haven't received number 2, and it's been almost a year. That is, I don't know if it started a year ago or finished, but it's been that wide. So it's just a number of things that from this building, we've been subsidizing this building. The city of Kenner has, the voters for many, many years. Things have changed from one administration to the next, from personnel to the people who operate it. And there's just a number of things that if this administration is taking that baton to be able to fix, then we need to do it right. We need to get the information. We need to have a conversation. We need to have those reports, and we need to have input. The council needs to have input into it, so we can see exactly what we need to do to alleviate this, subsidizing that the city is on. And to me, that is the biggest thing. Second priority is the management of it, and what can we do to use this facility for the betterment of the city. So I am definitely in favor of Councilman Hayes' deferral for those reasons. And I look forward, before we move on, because today I was at a position as far as was I going to abstain. I was going to make my comments about this until I got more information. Not that I say it is something we need to do. I just think we've gone about it not in an orderly fashion. So I look forward to receiving that information. I look forward to receiving the report from the second phase before we have an opportunity to vote on 3. And we will be able to definitely communicate with you and Mr. Sternhill, too.
We support everything that you're saying and everything that the council is saying.
Thank you, sir.
An issue with us.
Got you. Understand.
The only thing I want to add, please, is for all the council, one of the reasons we want to meet again, I guess for those that we've met with one time at least, is to try and get some input and questions or ideas that you might have for us to review, us to look at, us to ways to help improve the facility from your standpoint. So that was something I wanted to add. That's something else, and I guess in phase 3 that we really wanted to do.
Please understand, I know this is confusing. Phase 2 was written during one of the most difficult times of the pandemic, and everything was in chaos. We have all of the notes and all of the summaries for phase 2, but we have not submitted a report. And the reason we have not submitted a report on phase 2 is that the issues and the recommendations are striking, problematic. They offer the city an enormous opportunity to change the face of the Pontchartrain Center. But this is not a debate that should be limited to just the authors and the administration. And the mayor has said so, and we subscribe to that. So we will be calling your offices in the next few days to try to set up small meetings. What is the limit of the number of council members at any one time?
3.
3. Okay. Mr. Mayor, does that work for the council?
Yeah, if I could just, yeah, that's fine. And look, as much communication with the council, the better. But let me take back
Yes, go
the
ahead.
fault. Let me take it back to fault. I was going by what we thought we were hearing, but on August the 4th, each and every one of you all got a copy of the report. So you do have a report from the administration. We will send it again today for those of you all who have misplaced it, but we did send it on August the 4th. So this should not be getting deferred because administration and Doc Sternhill Solution has done their due diligence and has sent the report, has reached out to every council member. I know you weren't able to meet with them, but the majority of this council has met with Doc and we have sent the report. So we have done our job. I would just like to see you all have communication with Doc Sternhill so that we can move forward in a timely manner. This is something that we need to address with the Pontchartrain Center. Some of you all know we have a large group that is coming to us asking to come back to the city of Kenner. I'd rather keep that quiet right now, but I have told you all in confidence. And these things get held up. We were in a meeting with that group yesterday on Zoom, and it's like we can't move forward because we're not getting things done through this body. So I will agree, Councilman Hayes, with the deferral one more time. I'll support that with you all. But please, let's get this done by next council meeting because you do have the report since August 4th.
And 1 second, Ms. Foshee, I just wanted to acknowledge Mr. Marilla and Ms. Stacy Alessandro. I know y'all are waiting, but please have a little bit more patience. We're just trying to iron out some of these issues, and I'm going to call upon Ms. Foshee right now, if you will, please.
As long as it takes.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Ms. Foshee.
That's frightening.
My comments before I was accused of not sending this was going to start with Al Morella because he's the person who tipped me off to this. But let me go back to August 4th. Every single one of you at either 5:15 or 5:16 received an email from me, separate emails because it was confidential. And the reason I was able to pull Councilwoman McKinney up on my phone is because she was kind enough to respond. So thank you very much. She and I had multiple exchanges. So when I looked for it, and I said I sent it to Councilwoman McKinney because I actually have exchanges with her. So it's in the email August 4th between 5:15 and 5:16. If I could roll back just a little bit in terms of why we got into asking for this help in the first place, when we first got here, Al Morella came up to the microphone every single meeting and said, how much have we spent on the Pontchartrain Center? And the numbers started, I think that first year, Mr. Al was like $350,000. So one of the very first things we did, honestly, was meet with Doug Thornton, with then SMG, now I don't know what they're called, something, 3 more initials, and say what is it?
ASM Global.
ASM Global, okay. And say what is it we need to do because the Pontchartrain Center is sucking wind. And one of the things they said is, well, we need to get a study because you need a hotel, you need more meeting rooms, you need to do this, you need to do the other. We didn't have the capacity at that time to do that. So what we instead did is started focusing on trying to identify what the high priority events were. Don't put, for example, a knife show ahead of another consumer show that will bring more people in. Lego, look at Lego, very good example. If we'd had Lego not come, instead we had a knife show, it would have been worse. So for the first 2 or 3 years, as Al came to the microphone, every time my number went down. And last year, or the year, it must have been the year before COVID, I was able to say, Mr. Al, we made $9,000. Because we actually cash flowed. How did we do that? Well, one is we were looking at what they were doing, but the other was, pre-COVID, we also had hotel motel money. So there's 2 funding sources at the Pontchartrain Center. There are event fees, the money that comes from the actual usage by third parties, and there's the hotel motel tax. So once it starts breaking even, I stop looking at it, right? Because I got other stuff that's sucking wind. This one's breaking even. So COVID happens, we go to the Pontchartrain Center. Y'all remember all up there sharing 1 copy machine and 1 stamp machine. And the Pontchartrain Center comes up to me after a week and says, here's a bill for $125,000. And I said, for what? Well, you're going to have to subsidize us because we had to cancel all of these events. So we have gone from losing $350,000, which was bad, to breaking even, which was sort of great, but we weren't focusing on what we were spending it for, to now we're on track to spend $1 million, and we don't have a funding source for that. So one of the reasons that was the week or the week after when I reached out to Doc Sternhill, because if you haven't worked with him before, he's basically he's a talent agency, right? You go to him and he goes and he gets the people who have the experience and said, what are we going to do? Because we can't afford this. And they began to look at it. And then before that first report was final was when Can I say who it is? But when the people that I can't say who it is came to us and proposed a use at the Pontchartrain Center, which was going to substantially change everything that they had done. So right now what we're trying to do is not lose our shirts and figure out a way to keep the Pontchartrain Center on. I have 38 events over the next 18 months that we're waiting on their report, whether it's written or verbal or whatever, them to give us the assessment so we can say, yes, we're going to go forward with these, or no, we're going to pull the plug. So there are actual people out there, not just us, but there's actual people out there, vendors and people who need to use these services and who want to use the Pontchartrain Center, that we've put the brakes on. The group who shall not be named, the group we know but won't come, they've been waiting a couple of months at this point. But the others, the other 38, 41, some of them are going to get triggered very quickly. Some of them can wait. But it's over the next 18 months. If we are changing the use along the lines that may be proposed by this group, who will come back to you, because we can't do this ourselves. This is going to be a big old fat ordinance and a big old fat contract for whoever it is that ends up operating it. When we come back to you, you need these numbers. I don't want to come back to you, have these guys, sorry guys, we don't need you anymore, and try to figure that out on my own. Liz is fabulous, but if I have to pull Liz off and tell her to go figure out the finances of this organization, I think she's going to poke me in the eyeballs. So we need these people, whether you need them now or in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, but the operations of the Pontchartrain Center, as we stand here right here today, are dependent upon us getting their evaluation. And so I will work with you. I will provide you additional copies of anything. I will apologize for not having taught. Councilman Hayes, God bless him, when I kind of had my diatribe at the budget hearing, because this is the big, Ross Perot style sucking noise south of the border, taking all of our money out. Councilman Hayes suggested I calm down and have a more, professional approach to it. So I'm trying, but I am very concerned because of all the things we're doing right now, this is the thing that if we take our eyes off of this, just the catastrophic cost to us we need these people, or if we don't need them, then we need someone like these people to do the analysis. I think the team that they've put together, because these aren't the two I don't want to say you're not doing the work, but they have experts out there. They have people who are experts in convention centers. They have people who are experts in hotels and all the things that we need to look at, that you need to look at, because our job is to come and present it to you once we've done the study. Our job is not to make the decision on our own. We can't do that. This is a big piece of city property. So anyway, my apologies that this did not get brought to your attention in a different fashion, in a sooner fashion, but I do hope we can go forward with this as soon as possible so that we can unstick the Pontchartrain Center operations.
Thank you, Ms. Foshee, and keep in mind, everyone, that we're still on the deferral, and Mr. Almarilla, I'm going to go ahead and let you come up if you want to and speak at this time, because you've been waiting so patiently. And then I'm going to come back to the council persons afterward, because you were in the line, I believe, next.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 49 years. I'm going to take a quote from the movie Cool Hand Luke. What we have here is a failure to communicate. And why do we have this failure to communicate? This council, the legislative body, needs to stop these partisan political games. Now, I know we have citywide elections next year. We need to get on with the city's business and stop all of this. I've seen it played out at just about every council meeting, starting with the debacle that took place on June the 14th.
Mr. Alf, you can take it down the tone just a little bit. Thank you.
I talk loud, Tom. I got a loud voice and it's a little weak, but it's still loud.
I know.
That's all I have to say. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Stacy?
Excuse me, I have a question.
Hold on, sir.
You have the floor, Mr.
I'd like to know why you're saying that.
What's that?
I would like to know why you're saying what you said.
Why I'm saying what I said?
Yes.
Go back to June the 14th.
Not June 14th. When you're talking about this political game we're playing, if a council member says he didn't get a chance to see the report or he didn't see it, we're going to get it and we're going to take action. We're not doing this as a political game. This is to get information so we can do our jobs properly. And if it was missed, we get a lot of emails every day. We get a lot of emails every week. I don't think Mr. Hayes is playing any game, and I don't think any of us are. So I don't know why you say that.
That's your opinion. You're entitled to it.
So are you.
And I'm entitled to my opinion. But what caused this debacle on June the 14th is a split council. I'm saying what I'm saying because I believe we have a divided council up here. And the reason this council is divided is because we have citywide elections coming next year, and there's partisan politics being played up here. That's why I'm saying that. Any more questions, Councilman?
No, I'm just wondering if what...
Well, you got the answer.
I'm wondering...
I'll answer any question you want to ask me.
Can I finish my sentence?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm wondering what National Enquirer version you read to get that.
I don't deal with that. I deal with people face to face at this podium. I don't go by what I read, no periodicals or nothing like that. I'm dealing with what I'm seeing with my own two eyes, man.
And there's no divide here because there are elections next year.
Well, you look at it from your perspective, and I look at it from mine.
Okay.
Have at it.
That's right. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brennan, Councilman Brennan, you finished?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We were at Ms. Stacy Alessandro. If you want to make comment, please, name and address.
Hello, Stacy Alessandro, 3309 Chateau Boulevard. I'm here to speak on the deferral. I'm completely in favor of it. I thank Councilman Hayes for bringing this up. I would ask you guys to consider a 2-meeting deferral, and here's why. Number one, the public is sick of everybody blaming their shortcomings on COVID. That excuse is wearing thin for everybody, and we're no longer going to accept that from anyone. We've had COVID for 2 years. You've had time to adjust to the way things are going. At this point, COVID is not going to be an excuse in the city of Kenner from anybody for anything. So number one, I think we need a 2-meeting deferral because this contract, by what they're saying, has been going on for 30 years. Y'all need to figure out why, if we've had this contract for 30 years, why wasn't it built into the contract that you guys get regular reports? Why haven't y'all been getting reports even quarterly for the last 30 years? Suddenly, y'all get this report August 4th after 30 years, and now y'all are supposed to hurry up in 2 weeks when they said it's a very complex issue, half of it's confidential. This is a huge thing. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to come up and respond. This is a huge thing, and now suddenly, and y'all have other business to attend to, and they're going to try to blame it on the council because you've had this report for 2 weeks. This is a crock. Y'all need at least the next meeting to bring this up as an agenda item so we can see phase 1 and phase 2, you guys and the public. We can be clear, let's have a presentation, and then the next meeting you guys vote on it. I mean, we're getting a bill for $1 million that we didn't even see was coming for the punch. Did you guys know about this? I mean, these people have a contract for 30 years. We're about to be in the hole for $1 million. It's their job to tell y'all this, and we don't know. I mean, I think not only do we need to look into phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, we need to do a deep dive into the last 30 years and see where we go from here. Totally unacceptable. I'm asking for a 2-meeting deferral. Thank you.
Council Chairman, can I just clarify something?
Yes, Mayor, please.
I know Solution's going to do it, but from the administration standpoint, they have not been employed with the city for 30 years on this contract. So for the viewing public that's listening to that statement, I'll call it a statement, that is incorrect. So if Solution could clarify who hired you, not 30 years ago. You was hired 30 years ago to come in and do something through another administration, but it's been 30 years ago. Just recently you were hired by this administration.
Right. So thank you. I appreciate your complaints and issues. I just want to clarify for Solution's sake, we came in and helped in 90-91 and then weren't under contract until last September. and started phase 1 in September. So for your information, we haven't had 30 years of contract. We've had 1991 when it was first, I guess, built, the Pontchartrain Center, and then just recently when we started looking at phase 1 and phase 2. So I want to clarify that for the council, the administration, everyone.
Thank you, Colin. I'm going to allow Ms. Stacy, if you will, just
One
hold.
sentence, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I may have been incorrect when I said that they had the contract for 30 years, because this is a little confusing to all of us. I'm sorry. But I'm sorry, Council President. You're allowing her to speak twice? You got allowed to speak twice? Is your time up?
I don't know. Is her time up? I don't think we had a clock running on her. And if we did, it wasn't 3 minutes. In my opinion. I'm going to let her speak.
Thank you, Council President. This is confusing for everybody. Maybe this company hasn't had the contract for 30 years. This other gentleman that came up, somebody's had the contract for 30 years. Somebody's job it has been for 30 years.
No.
No, okay, you're raising your hand. No, it was nobody's job to oversee the Pontchartrain Center?
If I could just, since she can speak twice, can I just butt in? There has been a Pontchartrain Center for 30 years. When the Pontchartrain Center was built, Solution was hired by then mayor, that mayor then, to come in and work through the Pontchartrain Center with the city of Kenner. For 30 years, there have been numerous contracts that have been management contracts with the Pontchartrain Center. This mayor right here was sitting in that audience when that was done. So I'm not the one that hired Solution 30 years ago. We decided we needed some help. If none of you all see that there's issues at the Pontchartrain Center, because you got at least one constituent, Al Morella, that sees there's problems with the Pontchartrain Center, with the revenue source. I've asked y'all to find a revenue source. I've asked the previous council to find a revenue source for the Pontchartrain Center and other entities here, other departments. We have not done that as a whole. Let's work as a whole. We haven't done that. I tried to do it, and I'm getting accused with this administration that we hired somebody 30 years ago, or this has been in place for 30 years. I think the most important thing that Stacy said was, yeah, y'all haven't gotten a report until this administration. No council probably has gotten a report until this administration, because this administration took the bull by the horns and said, let's recognize we have a problem with our convention center. So we did. So now y'all have it. Y'all deferring it again. I get it. Please don't defer it for 2 meetings. It's easy to sit in that audience like I did in 1991 and say, oh, it could be done better. But right now, it needs to be done better right now. I said I support your deferral so that everybody gets on the same page, so that every council person meets with Solution. But two more meetings? I mean, come on, guys. We have some problems. Like I said, we have a group waiting in the wings that wants to get rolling. Let's get rolling with these groups. Let's not worry about anything else that's going on. Let's work as a unit, but not listen to these comments that are incorrect. I mean, they're incorrect comments, and it misleads the public.
Thank you, Mayor. And
My comment, I already said my comment may have been incorrect when I said the Solution Group. But my comment is not wrong. I stand by my comment. We've had the Pontchartrain Center for 30 years. We've had somebody in charge of it every one of those 30 years. And now, yeah, it's happening. Y'all finally got a report during this administration, which he's been in office for 3.5 years. There's only 6 months left. Big whoop.
Oh.
I stand by my comments, and I stand by the fact that we need to scrutinize what's happening here after 30 years. Can we not take 2 meetings? Let's make it clear to y'all. Let's make it clear to the public. And then y'all vote on it. And if it's great, vote on it. If not, we need to address this. This is 30 years in the making. Are you going to constantly, all right, how long are we going to play this game? Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Ms. Foshee, I'm going to give you the floor. Then we have Councilman Carroll next up in the queue.
I will. So there are things Stacy's right about, but the things she's mad about, she's wrong about. Pontchartrain Center has been under third-party management for 30 years, and it's largely been SMG the whole time, right? And nobody questioned SMG, and somebody should have. Solution is the group being brought in to investigate, so she's 100% right. SMG did what they were allowed to do because nobody was watching. They didn't do anything wrong or criminal. It just wasn't their highest priority. We need to prioritize it because now we're back to losing money. Al brought it to our attention in the beginning. When we stopped losing money, it stopped being the highest priority. Well, now we're losing a lot. So what Solution is doing is not managing the Pontchartrain Center. They're investigating the people who are managing the Pontchartrain Center. They're the investigatory team who's coming back to tell us, hey guys, here is what you need to change. So Stacy's 100% correct. Something's been going on for 30 years, and the person who's going, the group that's going to help us fix that, figure out what the problem is, and move forward, that's Solution. So what we are doing by putting the kibosh on this is not putting a kibosh on what's been going on at the Pontchartrain Center. We're putting kibosh on finding out. We're depriving ourselves of information. We're kicking the can down the road. Let's find out later. So I will do whatever y'all need. I will provide you whatever information. I just need help because we basically brought operations at the Pontchartrain Center, at least in terms of what's going to happen over the next 18 months in future planning. We've asked everybody to slow down because we've got to come back to you guys and say, do you want to keep doing this, behind door number 1? Or here's door number 2. It'll cost A, but we'll make B. Or do you want to go to door number 3? So the longer we wait, the more people we hold up, including this particular group that we know but can't name. So Stacy's right. Somebody should have been looking, and we're here, and we've hired somebody to look. And I think that's a fair assessment.
Thank you, Ms. Foshee. And Mayor Zahn?
Can I add to that we did do that. So when we met with Doug Thornton, we said, Doug, and I know Councilman Hayes probably hears this, and if the two at-larges don't hear this, I'm surprised. But we, Doug, would like to be the Pontchartrain Center. We know we're not the Dome, but you manage the Dome. But can we get a concert here and there? Yeah, we have to reconfigure some things for acoustics. We get it. But can we get some things that the Dome gets? Look, I've had a trailer. I love trailer shows. I got no problem with gun shows. I own a lot of guns. I'm good with that. Have gun shows, have trailer shows. But make sure when you're doing those things, we also have the better things too. So if you ever want to get to that next step of making sure that we get something that's comparable to the Dome, guys, that's what I'm trying to do. And we did meet, we did meet before COVID. And COVID did tie up the whole world, not just the city of Kenner. So when COVID tied up the world, we were tied up with making sure our people weren't getting sick and dying. So that was more important than doing something at the Pontchartrain Center, which wasn't having shows anyway, neither was the Dome. So that's what we did. We did get held up by COVID. We're back on it. So we haven't wasted the last 4.5 years doing nothing.
Thank you, Mayor. And I have just a general question, and I don't know who to direct this to, but I wanted to ask, we've had this on our agenda already. I think this is the 3rd time, is that correct? So it has been deferred several times already. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm not 100%, but I think this is the 3rd time it's appearing. So it's, yes. Wait, can you, I'm sorry, can you hold 1 second? We need a speaker.
Yeah, sorry, I'm
Ms.
sorry
Sala?
about that.
Thank you, Ms. Sala.
Under Rule 32.1, it says no question can be postponed beyond the next 2 meetings. So it says a motion to postpone to a certain time is a motion on a pending question that can be put off to a later time in the meeting or the next 2 meetings. No question can be postponed beyond the next 2 meetings. So if this is a second postponement, is
Right.
this and I'm going to ask Council Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times has this appeared on the agenda?
This is either the 2nd or 3rd time, and we've had this question come up before about the deferral, and it's a motion. If you make a motion, you cannot defer more than 2 meetings at each motion. And so that's what we've always done as the council clerk and the council. When you make a motion, you can't defer beyond 2 meetings. You can't do 3 meetings or 4 meetings. The most you can defer is 2 meetings.
That's correct.
Okay, so we can do them consecutive, though. You can have it come up 3 times and have a 1 meeting deferral each time, or even a 2 meeting deferral. But it can be multiple times.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. That's the practice that we've taken since that rule's been in place.
Okay, thank you. I wanted that clarified, and I appreciate that. Ms.
No.
Sala, would you like to comment further?
It's not indefinite. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Would you like to comment?
I'm sorry,
further?
sorry.
Would you like to comment any further on that issue?
No, the only thing I was going to say, if you already all voted for one meeting, then it's already been voted on.
We
Unless
haven't
there's
voted today, not yet. We're still debating.
You're still debating?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And we still have three more people in the queue, so I'm going to go on if that's okay.
According again to Rule 32.1, no item being postponed shall appear on the agenda as finished business, but it says no question can be postponed beyond the next 2 meetings. So if you decide to do 2 meetings, not the next meeting, you can't say 3 meetings from now.
Correct.
In other words.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. That's what it's.
Okay. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor, sir. Councilman Carroll.
Testing. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. And first, I'd like to thank Councilman Brennan for his comments to Mr. Morella as related to us, and not in our defense, but his ability to explain to Mr. Morella, it is our job to ask questions. It is our job to find out if we don't have clear understanding of what's going on. It has nothing to do with a collaborative separation or nothing to do with the elections. If we don't do that, then we are not doing our job. So thank you, Councilman Brennan, for that, because I was going to address that, but there's no need to now. Also, I'd like to thank the Sternhills for their comments, because I believe my comments to them were spot on, and they understand that what I was saying was that even though we got this report on the 4th, that is not our fault that we got it on the 4th, or nor should it have said that's timely enough. What should have happened was before the 4th, and in my opinion, for every administration, it should have been more communications with the council before we hire the Sternhills or anybody, which would give them an opportunity to talk to us and get our ideas. Once we establish that, where we're going, then we put in place the monies, the people's monies, to be able to solve a solution. So that is what I'm saying. I think the Sternhills totally understood that, and I think even though we are starting now, we're starting now, and we are now doing the right things about going forward. All of the things that are coming behind us, it doesn't mean we have to rush through things just because there are things behind us that we have to put in place. I understand that, but if you don't do it properly in the beginning, the things that come behind you will also have a possibility of not being in place proper. So by no means that we are, because I'm not sure who this group is or what any group is as far as what we should do, but we have no information on that either. So I believe to push this meeting to defer it one time is a great idea by Councilman Hayes. If by some chance, as Ms. Alessandro said, that during that time frame, speaking for me personally, that I am not satisfied with the information or feel we don't have enough, I am not opposed to deferring it again if we have to. I'm going to do our due diligence to get as much information as we can. But as the council clerk said, we can defer it if we feel it is a need to do it for another meeting. So that's just my 2 cents on it as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. And next we have in the queue is Councilman Brannigan.
Okay. I have zero problems with forming out these audits to Mr. Sternhill and his company, because they are competent, and I don't think that that's an issue. Bob, can you come back to the mic? When you were speaking in regards to phase 2, you said there were developments that came up that were stuff that was uncovered during the phase 2 evaluation. And so my question to you is phase 2 complete or not?
Good question. Is it fully written? No.
Okay.
Are the conclusions there? Yes.
Okay.
We could meet with the council today and go over the I started to say temporary, but what's the word I'm looking for? The findings that we are going to recommend to the administration and to the council.
Okay.
We could do that. However, it's not in final form. Normally, we try to reach final form. And I'm sorry, you know, the COVID thing is real, and everybody has been set back a dozen different ways.
Okay. So basically, you're telling me that all the data is there.
We're there.
You're there.
Right.
Okay. And we do not have a report for phase 2, and we have a report for phase 1 that's confidential that I did receive at 5:16 on August 4th from Ms. Fauché, okay? Now, the problem that I have is we have paid $95,000, 50 for phase 1 and 45 for phase 2, and it's not complete. That's not your fault. Okay, I think that what we need to do in these contracts is put some type of holdout of payment so that until we get the final deal. So if it's a 10%, like until the thing is finalized, I think that makes sense, because that 10%, I don't want to take any of your money, but that 10% would, I would think, get you to, you know, make sure this stuff's done. That's not your problem. That's our administration's problem. They should have some type of holdout if it's legal to do it. I don't know if it's legal to do it, but I think that when we are doing these contracts that we have already paid 95 grand on, we should have some type of holdout to make sure that these things are finished. I know that you're doing other audits in the city, in the finance department and in the code department. I have no idea where we are on those audits, and that's going to be addressed. But, you know, I don't want you to lose any money. You know, I want you to make as much money as you can make. But the deal is, you know, I think that in order for these reports to be completed, when these contracts are drafted, and since the administration drafts the contracts, they're going to have to, or whoever drafts the contracts has to put an amount in. I think 10% would be great, because that's $9,500 because it's not completed. You know, in the legislation on the first page submitted by Ms. Fauché, contractor has completed phases 1 and 2. It's not completed in my eyes. And, you know, it's a situation where, you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, but this is important. And we need the Pontchartrain Center to be a money maker, not a money loser. And I think that after looking through the confidential report, some of the stuff that y'all have come up with can help that. And I can't wait to see phase 2 and phase 3. But,
thank you.
You know, I just, you know, if you hire a painter to paint your house, do you pay the guy before or do you pay the guy after? I mean, you pay him before, you're going to be hiring another painter. And I just think that there has got to be something put in place to make sure that these deals are done and finished in a timely fashion. Put it in the contract. What's the completion date? What's the penalty date? I'm dealing with the Duncan Canal complaints right now. There's a $6,000 a day deal where this guy doesn't complete it. He's behind the 8 ball. So I think that whoever's writing these contracts needs to fix these contracts so that we don't have another situation like this.
Thank you, Councilman. May I quickly respond?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and respond.
I think everybody agrees with you. We all want that to be the case. I think from our perspective, when our contracts run out, whether it's in Kenner or with Major League Baseball, or whether it's the parish, or whether it's other states, we continue doing the work when things get in the way, as they always do. And so finishing the work is not the issue. We need to tidy it up and be clear about it. And we have a long history of serving our clients. God, that sounds so terrible. But we're very careful, and nobody ever kicks us out. And we've done several hundred gigs over the last 50 years, and we're prepared to work within any organized system that you guys create.
Okay. And another thing that has nothing to do with you or your company is the city of Kenner has a risk insurance audit and compliance department that we spend $405,000 a year on. And I guess I'd like to know what percentages to audit. I mean, you know, we have an internal audit department, and that's not for you, Mr. Sternhill. But I don't know why we have an internal audit department if we're using outside sources. Go ahead. Tom?
Mr. President, may I?
Yes, please.
Internal audit's internal. Punch Train Center is external. We hire external auditors for external.
Okay.
Plus, we hire an external auditor for the finance budget as well, just because the legislative auditor recommends that you do that. So those are, that's our, so internal audit does internal, like if something's going on within a department.
Okay, so the audit for finance and audit for code, is that internal or external?
Right. We're going beyond the deferral issues.
Okay.
Internal and external, because the issue involves third-party inspectors as well.
Okay.
We're on the deferral still, if you will. And Mayor, if you have comments.
Yeah, I just want to tell Councilman Brannigan, I think that's a great idea. I will instruct our city attorney to start putting those into his contracts, because our formal legal department does the contracts. Our formal legal department, members of that department did that contract. So it's not the administration, it's the legal department that does the contracts.
Okay.
So with what you've said, I agree with, and there's been changes made there, obviously. So I'm going to instruct our city attorney to start putting those things in, because that's something that should have been done in the past.
Okay, well, the prior city attorneys aren't privy to this information. I agree with, I'm glad that you agree with me.
You're not privy to this information?
Yeah, about what I just talked about.
No,
but that's fine.
no, I'm just saying, though,
You know,
that but you said it was the administration that did this. We don't draft the contracts. The city attorney's office.
Who signs the contracts?
I do.
Okay.
I go by our city attorney at the time.
Okay.
And I still go by the city attorney. So.
Well, at that time, they didn't have
Got a reflection.
these things. I understand what you're saying, but I'm glad that you see that.
No, I agree with
it
you.
would be a great thing to
Absolutely.
make sure that these contracts are finished on time. And I think that in the contracts, it should have a completion date and a penalty for not completing it in time. Very simple concept.
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
I wish we had
We're
been
still
doing
on the
that for the
deferral,
city
y'all.
attorney's office.
Just, let's see who's next. I got McKinney, Councilwoman McKinney next, unless it's on this.
I just wanted to make a comment to Councilman Brannigan.
Will you yield the floor to him? Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Turner, isn't that normal protocol or procedure in some of the contracts for like roads and things like that? Isn't money held out? And
I know drainage, excuse me, I guess doing consulting and other project management, I know drainage does a retainage of about 10 or 15%. So I know it's done like that in other areas.
I don't know how Tom did that. It sounded like.
Sorry. I just know other work we've done, they do a retainage. And if that's the recommendation of the council and the mayor, solution is fine for it. So I know it's been done in the past just because of work we've done as project manager.
I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank
you,
you.
Councilwoman McKinney.
Councilwoman McKinney, you now have the floor.
Yes. I actually just want to call the question so we can vote.
Councilwoman McKinney calls the question. We have it's on the floor.
Call the question, Councilman?
She called the question, but
So we can vote.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to call the question. Motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Segura to call the question.
Madam Clerk, if we can hold for 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Okay, continue, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir, Councilman Brannigan. We are on a motion to call the question. Motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Segura. We're ending debate. Council members, please vote to end Debate. Call the question. Motion passes 7-0. Back to the original, the motion to defer, actually, one meeting. Motion by Councilmember Hayes, seconded by Councilmember Segura on a one-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote on a deferral. Motion passes 7-0 for a one-meeting deferral. Item 15B is summary ordinance number
Thank you all.
12,800.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
12,885, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a private donation for the purchase of 2 new exhibits from Clark Planetarium, a sole source provider for the Science Museum in Rivertown. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember McKinney. Councilman Segura.
Thank you, Council Clerk. Just a quick comment on this. The funding for this is really what I'm just bringing up, is that I want to thank, but I'm not at liberty to mention their names right now because they haven't given me that authority. But this contribution, this donation, is from a family in District 2 that has been very gracious over the last 3 or 4 years in putting up money for various projects, Naval Commission projects, food bank projects, Veterans Park projects, and now when they contacted me and I put them in touch with Mr. Glorioso for his departments to find some place for their contribution, and so this is what came up with the planetarium's needs. So I just wanted to mention that publicly. I want to thank that family and hopefully at some point be able to release their name. But I wanted to thank them for their very generous contribution over the last several years, because I know in this case, our planetarium solely needs this equipment. So thank y'all and please support it.
Councilman Carroll, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank Councilman Segura for his support and for the family. Even though I don't know them or who they are, I'd like to thank them personally for the support that they have given the city, and particularly for the Science Museum, which is in District 1, but it is for the whole city. It is just one more piece, I believe, for Rivertown that's being put into place to make it a destination for the people in the city of Kenner and outside the city of Kenner. So thank them again, thank their family for their support. And Councilman Segura, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Council members, please vote. One more vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 12,886. An ordinance ratifying the emergency purchase of a Dino 6 sediment removal system at Lake Town Boat Launch in the amount of $119,697 by Geofoam International, doing business as Jackson Specialties for the Kenner Department of Parks and Recreation. Have a motion by Councilmember Hayes, seconded by Councilmember McKinney. Seeing no discussion, council members, please vote.
Question.
Oh.
Go ahead, Councilman Hayes.
I'd like to ask Director Pitfield to give us a lowdown on this. You've done some good work here, and I thank you publicly.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, this was a project that we have ongoing between the Parish Council Office as well as the state on permanent improvements to the Lake Town facility. It was brought to our attention that our public safety services, i.e. the fire department and the police department, were unable to access Lake Pontchartrain to address public safety issues because of the sediment that has traditionally and continually pushed into the boat launch area. With that being said, we worked very well with a lot of environmental firms, state, federal firms to make this happen. We were awarded an emergency use permit to dredge a 40-foot width to allow for our public entities, public safety entities, to access Lake Pontchartrain. So this piece of equipment, different than what other people speculate and like to put their opinions on, is absolutely the piece of equipment that is made for boat launches and marinas. We were successful. It took about 7 or 8 weeks of our own internal staff to dredge that navigation channel. I believe just this past week, we had an instance that potentially the fire department boat was needed for a life-saving emergency that would not have been able to happen had we not done this. So we appreciate y'all's support and understanding that, look, we're fighting Mother Nature on this with the opening of the spillway, pushing that sediment. We are continuing to work with Councilman Impastato's office for a permanent fix with a rock jetty that's going to go out and secure and protect that boat launch. So we were successful. The boat launch was opened again to boaters for recreational use the beginning of July. So this is the ratification of that purchase because it was an emergency declared because our public safety entities could not perform those rescue needs in Lake Pontchartrain.
Any other questions? Councilwoman McKinney.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. I just have a question. And I guess it's more of a process question rather than anything. So this emergency repair is coming now, but it was requested months ago. So where, I get, and it already happened, the work already happened, correct? And that happened in July and it's August, the second meeting in August. What is the process to, I mean, if it's an emergency, I would think, you know, it would come when it's purchased, it comes on the agenda as soon as possible. So I guess I'm wondering, why is it on the agenda now when the work has already been done? So, because that's probably been how long ago was the emergency?
I can answer that as well. So
okay.
the legislation initially is drafted by my office that has gone through multiple moves and staffing issues because of COVID as well. So that's the reason for the delay.
Okay, and how long of a delay has that been? I mean, it's probably like
I don't have it in front of me. It's probably been about 3 months.
3 months. Okay. Yeah, that's the only question I have. It's not that I have an issue with it. I just feel like we're doing a lot of emergency repairs, so I want to understand that process.
We have a lot of issues in the city.
Yeah, thank you.
Is this not more than a repair? This is an actual piece of equipment, correct?
This is a piece of equipment. This is a dredge that the city now owns that we can continue to apply for permits to keep maintenance on it, as well as if we need to do it in other venues such as Kenner City Park. So we now own the dredge on a trailer that we can continue to do this work in-house.
And we'll be able to keep our boat launch in operation throughout the year than if we didn't have it, correct?
Yes, but again, remember, it's not just us. There's a lot of state and federal permits that have to go through to make that happen.
But it will be helpful.
Absolutely.
Very good. Anybody else? Let's see. We have Councilman Brannigan.
Chad, I've got a lot of complaints about the boat launch being silted and everything, and great move getting this piece of equipment because I think it'll serve the city for a long time to come. On the rock jetty, and I don't know if Mayor Zahn knows, you know, a time frame of when Councilman Impastato is going to have that project completed or started or done, because that's going to alleviate a lot of the problems that we have with the silt in, especially when they open the spillway and we have all that river water flying through the lake. I mean, that's what fills the thing up. Do we have an idea?
There was some phases as, you know, the boat launch area itself, the dock area, the restrooms, those were in a phase, and I believe the jetties in another phase. I don't have the exact time frame in front of me, but I think Mr. Schreiner has been working on this with us as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that first initial phase, we should be seeing something going out for bid on the parish level in the fall, correct?
Yes.
I believe that's our latest understanding. But I'm not sure the rock jetty's in there, but don't hold me to that 100%.
Okay. I was just wondering, you know, because I get asked different things. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And that's all we have in the queue, Madam Clerk.
Council members, please vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold 1 second. Mayor Zahn has the floor.
Chad, wasn't the price of the equipment close to, if not the same, as the price of the dredging?
That's correct. And so that was the reason that we decided to go with the purchase route. The price to do it one time was in the same ballpark as purchasing the equipment. So now we have it where the next time we'll save the city $115,000 every time we do it.
So now we own the equipment, and like he said, I mean, Kenner City Park comes to mind, but there's probably other things too. The lake, takes more than just us saying, oh, it's time to dredge it, because we got to get a lot of permits.
And that included training for 8 of our employees. So we have staff that are fully trained to operate this dredge because it's a very dangerous piece of equipment. It's basically a tiller on the front that's about 5 to 6 feet wide. So you definitely need to be careful operating that. So we have fully trained staff that will be doing this for us in the future to save money.
Good job, Chad.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 12,887, an ordinance authorizing an emergency purchase of a new fence at Butch Dewey Playground in the amount of $9,998 by Amco Fence, Kenner LLC, for the Kenner Department of Parks and Recreation. Motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Seeing no discussion, council members, please vote. One more vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 12,888, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Avery Dennison Office Products Company to supply reflective sheeting supplies on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 21-6615 and an amount not to exceed $30,000 for the Department of General Services. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Councilmember McKinney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council Clerk. I just have 2 quick questions on this. Is this an annual contract renewal? And then what is the previous amount that was charged for this reflective sheeting?
Yes, it's an annual, and $22,000 was spent previously.
Okay. And the limit was $30,000 before?
Yes.
So it's the same. Okay, great. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 12,889, an ordinance accepting the lowest and responsive bid received from AJ's Collision to provide automotive body damage and repair for the city of Kenner in accordance with seal bid number 21-6608 and an amount not to exceed $70,000 annually for the Department of Fleet Management. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Councilman McKinney?
Christie, Councilwoman McKinney, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
This same question, what was spent last year, and is it an increase or decrease?
Okay, so last year we spent about $16,000, and it was a $75,000 contract. So it has gone down to a $70,000.
Okay, and okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote. One more. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 12,890, an ordinance ratifying the emergency replacement of shingle roof section for Fire Station number 39 by Garcia Roofing in the amount of $23,801.82. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney. Seeing no discussion. Oh.
Councilman Segura, you have the floor.
Wanted to see if the contract calls for General Honore to come in here and said the roofing was done by Garcia Roofing to help us out. Nope.
Councilman Brannigan, you have the floor.
Fire Chief, that roof replacement, is that the one that you had got the original bid for like 120 on it or something?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I like this bid a lot better.
I do too.
Okay. Thank you. Good work.
And I'll do the general honorary thing next.
Are you finished, Mr. Brent? Councilman
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman McKinney, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Actually, Fire Chief, I just had a quick question. I just wanted to find out if that repair has been completed or is it still in the process?
No, it's not, it hadn't started yet. Actually, it was part of my comment section that I had for you guys that you asked me to do a couple of months ago. It's scheduled to start on August 24th.
Okay.
And it's a one-day job.
Okay, great. So it'll be in the next few days then. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 12,891. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive base bid plus bid alternate number 1 received from Ram J Construction LLC in the amount of $1,180,060 for Lincoln Manor Subdivision Drainage Improvements Project, Facility Planning and Control Project Number 50-MF-1-20-01, City of Kenner Project Number PW-2020-6-DR, in accordance with sealed bid number 21-6610 for the Department of Public Works. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot.
Councilman Carroll, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to just thank the administration, the mayor, thank the Director of Public Works, also with this project for the Lincoln Manor subdivision, and particularly Representative Stagney and our whole coalition within the state of Louisiana, the way they work together to get this on. We look forward to this project going forward, and we are in the running for another piece of a project to make it even better from a standpoint of the drainage. So all around, everyone did a great job, good teamwork, and with the people in Lincoln Manor subdivision will definitely benefit from this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. And next we have Councilman Brannigan.
Is this, Ms. Fauché, is this the project that came through the state of Louisiana through the Green Book and all of that? Yes. So, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
That project has multiple funding sources, so we've received some Green Book. When we say Green Book, we're talking about submitting it to the state capital outlay.
Right.
In addition, there were some I don't want to say unregulated, there was some funding received as a result of CARES Act that became available. So we've also received some funds that are not tied to capital outlay, except that we still have to go to the state to submit plans. But there's money in addition to what we submitted to capital outlay is what we're saying.
Okay, so the monies that we got, is the city paying any portion of this? Do we have to pay anything on this?
Can we get the guy who actually knows the answer to that? Because I can't read his lips when he's wearing that mask. So.
Thank you, Mr. Schreiner.
Sorry about that. I have to work on that mask deal. Councilman Brown, again, we're responsible for a 25% match on that, which we have more. We have some excess on that. We have up to $360,000 that we've set aside for the match on this project.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Beautiful. Mayor Zahn.
I want to actually thank you also, Councilman Wilmot, because when Councilman Brannigan brought up it's something from the state, of course it's from from State Representative Joe Stagney and also the rest of the delegation. But thank you, and I've done this before, for keeping it alive, because when you were there, you kept it alive, kept it in the state's face, made sure that it was still not getting thrown out. So if you hadn't done that with Joe's help, getting it passed this time, it wouldn't be here. So thanks you also, besides all the state delegation.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. This has been a big project, long time coming, and I think it's going to be a huge help to not just that community, but that whole area, that whole region. So this is huge. This is almost 1.2 million here, and as Ms. Fauché mentioned, more to come. So thank y'all, and I hope everybody supports this happily. Thank you.
Council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15I is summary ordinance number 12,892. An ordinance revoking ordinance 11,866 and accepting the second lowest responsive bid received from Crescent Decal Specialist Incorporated to provide and install vehicle decals for the city of Kenner in accordance with sealed bid number 21-6610 6596 in an amount not to exceed $70,000 annually for the Department of Fleet Management. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney.
Councilwoman McKinney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. I just have a question. I see it's an annual amount. I'd like to find out how much was charged last year and if it's the same renewal amount, annual amount.
It is the same amount. It was 70,000 prior, and then we have only spent 5,000.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And if you can stay up there, Ms. Erwin, I appreciate it. I had a question regarding, it says accepting the second lowest bid. Why is that?
Okay, if I can let Chad speak on that.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, we're revoking the first ordinance, which was the lowest responsive bidder. Once y'all approved it, we went through the contact process. Due to COVID and many other reasons, that company went out of business. So then we therefore now move to the second.
Okay, I just wanted to ask that because it's an unusual clause to see, and I wanted explanation. So I thank you very much for that.
Councilman Brannigan.
Chad, the only question I have is, what's the upcharge to change the colors to purple and gold instead of green and white?
There's actually no change. There's no charge to change the colors, just so you know.
Okay.
Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15J is summary ordinance number 12,893. An ordinance approving the purchase of 2 additional Lucas 3 V3.1 chest compression systems from Stryker Sales LLC in the amount of $32,365.74, and in accordance with the same terms and conditions as set forth in original bid number 21-1984 for the Kenner Fire Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Brennan.
Councilman Brennan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council Chair. I was just going to ask Councilman Segura to make comments on this. I heard his idea and followed it, so I'm giving him credit.
Thank you. And he is up next in the queue. Councilman Segura.
Thank you, Council President.
Microphone.
For Councilman Brennan, that this came up at a previous meeting when the fire chief was putting one of these in service or purchasing to put in service, and a discussion came up for needing additional ones. And so I know I got with him immediately and agreed to purchase, and Councilman Brennan did the same. So we now have these 2 additional CPR automated devices to help out the fire department when they arrive on scenes and CPR is in progress, that the machine can now take over, and that helps preclude the individuals that are doing the CPR from being getting tired and not able to complete efficiently. So we now have 3 of them, Chief, and we hopefully know the first one was being placed District 1, so these are in Districts 2 and 5, correct?
The 2 on this ordinance are on delivery. So they're scheduled to come in the next week or 2.
I got you.
So we have the first one in, and we just trained all the members on the use of that one, and that one's going in service immediately.
Right.
In District 1, of course. And then those 2 should be here in the next week or 2. But thank you. I really appreciate it.
And they're going where?
District 2 and District 5.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else in the queue, Madam Clerk?
Council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15K is summary ordinance number 12,894. An ordinance ratifying a change order for an emergency purchase to remove and install new diesel driver and fire pump, along with replacing single wall fuel tank and damaged 4-inch dry valve at the Pontchartrain Convention and Civic Center. A motion by Councilmember Hayes, seconded by Councilmember Segura.
Councilman Brannigan, you have the floor.
Do we have a cost on this?
I'm going off of memory, but you have already voted for the original purchase. So when they went out to assess it, you already voted on that purchase. So this is an increase of, I think, $10,500 on your original approval.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz.
Mayor Zahn?
I think it was in the solution report. Just joking.
Was it in the 10% of it?
Not yet.
Madam Clerk?
Seeing no further discussion, council members.
McKinney, I'm sorry, Councilwoman McKinney, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Okay, thank you, Council President. I just wanted to find out, as a follow-up to the increase, what was the reason for the increase? Was it something new that was broken, or was it was an underestimate in the bid, or I guess what's causing the change order?
This was a broken fire valve that they had discovered when they were doing the work that affects the fire suppression system. So it was busted, and they couldn't turn off the water to the fire suppression system without repairing this item.
Okay, so it's something that in the matter of repair, they happened upon it and it's already been done?
Correct.
The work has already been completed, right?
I think the work is completed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15L is a resolution approving change order number 1 to the agreement with Cycle Construction Company, LLC, dated September 25th, 2020, regarding South Williams Boulevard streetscaping, state project number H.009804, federal aid project number H.009804, Kenner Public Works project number 2019-28-MISC for an increase of $24,573.41 for the Department of Public Works. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot.
Mr. Morella, you have the floor, sir. Name and address.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 49 years. I'd like to get an explanation on the increase on his change order.
Mr. Schreiner, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. There's 3 items here that make up the change order. First one was $631 for the contractor's insurance. It allows him to make this claim based on the contract documents. The second item is $9,600 that we paid the contractor extra to paint the existing light poles in that stretch of Williams. The third one was $14,000 to reconcile the contract quantities. That happens when you go through these types of contracts. You overrun some quantities and you underrun. So that's the result of more overruns than underruns.
And who's responsible for the increase? The
We're
city?
responsible for 20% of the cost.
20% of the increase as well?
I'm sorry?
20% of the increase in the cost as well, so it's...
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Is that all, Mr. Morella?
Yeah, I'm waiting on the next item.
Okay, very
For
good.
this one.
Seeing no further comments,
Right.
council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 15M is a resolution ratifying change order number 2 to the agreement with Hubs Property LLC dated March 15, 2021 regarding the improvements to the Annie Washington Transitional Housing Building for a net increase of $39,960 to the agreement amount, resulting in a total agreement amount of $363,414.11, and to add an additional 82 calendar days to the agreement time for the Department of Community Development. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember McKinney.
Mr. Al Morella, you have the floor, sir. Name and address again.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 49 years. Same thing. Explanation, please, for the increase.
Mr. Campo, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Council President. This increase, it's related to increased cost in lumber, which is up 200%, and the actual increase in time is due to shipping delays internationally. Any other questions?
Councilman Carroll, you have a question from Mr. Campo? No? Councilwoman McKinney, you have a question of Mr. Campo?
Do you know what the portion?
Your microphone's not on. Councilwoman McKinney's microphone?
Hold on.
Thank you, Council Clerk.
I can hear you now.
Yes. I just had a clarification question. Is that, is the city of Kenner paying the entire amount, or is that?
This is federally funded.
Federal fund? Okay, so none of that is, okay, perfect. That's all I wanted to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
No problem.
Councilman Carroll, did you want to speak still?
Go ahead, Councilman Carroll. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Morella, for that question. Unfortunately, Attorney Shaw is not here today to elaborate more on it, but just to bring everybody up to speed, the Annie Washington facility is off of Veterans. It is east of the police station. In the past, in the city of Kenner, it has been a number of things, tutoring, safe haven for people. The city of Kenner has taken it upon themselves to upgrade this building to be able to offer different projects for people. So as we move forward, unfortunately, we got caught up with COVID. Prices for everyone has gone up. We have a little increase, but at the end of the day, this will be a great building for the city of Kenner, and I look forward to Ms. Attorney Shaw coming back to be able to elaborate more. But thanks for the question, Mr. Al. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Madam Clerk?
Councilman McKinney, you want to speak again?
No, Council Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. All council members, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of a part of Lot 21, lots 22 through 31, lots 60 through 69, and part of Lot 70 into lots 21A1, 21A2, 21A3, 21A4, and 21A5. M. Centani subdivision of Oakland Plantation, which lots are owned by Byron Farb and Gregory Farb, and amending ordinance 11,062 adopted by the City of Kenner, Louisiana on March 17, 2016, entitled Unified Development Code of the City of Kenner, Louisiana, more particularly amending the official zoning map of the City of Kenner and rezoning new lots 21A1, 21A2, and 21A3 from MU, mixed use, and R2, two-family residential, to SI, specialty industrial, and directing, authorizing, empowering the planning director for the City of Kenner to alter and amend the official zoning map of the City of Kenner, Louisiana. Item 16B is an ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of lots 1 through 15, square 111, into lots 1A, 5A, 9A, and 12A, Kenner Heights subdivision, Kenner, Louisiana, which lots are owned by D. Stop Properties, LLC, and amending ordinance number 11,062 adopted by the City of Kenner, Louisiana on March 17, 2016, entitled Unified Development Code of the City of Kenner, Louisiana, more particularly amending the official zoning map of the City of Kenner and rezoning new lots 1A, 5A, 9A, and 12A, square 111, Kenner Heights subdivision, Kenner, Louisiana, from RR1, single-family residential, to SI, specialty industrial. Item 16C is an ordinance authorizing a public hearing and approving amendment number 5 to the fiscal year 2020 annual action plan for the proposed development, for the proposed home investment partnership home grant for the Community Development Department. Item 16D is an ordinance ratifying the emergency purchase to replace one commercial grade 1.5-ton mini split air conditioning system for KTV inside council chambers by Beacon Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Incorporated in the amount of $5,850. Item 16E is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Beacon Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Incorporated to furnish and install a 12.5-ton air conditioning system in the Space Station/Science Center located in Rivertown in accordance with letter bid number 21-1989 in an amount not to exceed $13,150 for the Department of General Services. Item 16F is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a Pad Trax Zeus 2-pocket currency discriminator software and accessories from CNA Associates Incorporated, a sole source provider, in an amount not to exceed $3,942.18 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16G is an ordinance ratifying the emergency purchase of roofing materials for the Field Services Building from Roofing Products and Building Supply Incorporated in the amount of $12,385.25. Item 16H is an ordinance ratifying an emergency purchase of a 17.5 kW Onan generator, transfer switch, and miscellaneous electrical components from WJ Blocher Company, LLC, in the amount of $31,109.39 for the City of Kenner Fire Department. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Councilman Carroll, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to personally thank the KTV department, Mr. Leon, also part of that group, and all of the groups in the family of the Lloyd Price for the event we had in South Kenner on the 14th. It was a tribute to Lloyd Price, who grew up in South Kenner, went on to go into the Hall of Fame rock and roll. It was a fantastic event, fantastic video that was put on. It gave the opportunity to share information to many of people who may not have known that Mr. Price's roots started within South Kenner. And it was a program put on with his music, many of his songs that were played, and just a little tad bit, to let people know that many of his songs was re-recorded like 600 times by different people. So right here in South Kenner, we are part of people who have done great things, and we are proud of, and we look forward in the future to be able to honor such like Mr. Price and other groups that came from the city of Kenner with all of their accolades that they will continue to do in the city of Kenner. So again, thank everybody for their support, and we look forward to showing it within the next week, the edited version of it for the people who could not make it for obvious reasons. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. And I, too, would like to mention that the Lloyd Price tribute was very well done, and Councilman Carroll emceed it, and he did an outstanding job, and I just wanted to thank him for all his contributions as well for that event. Really well done. In addition to that, I would also like to wish my wife a happy 34th anniversary, which is tomorrow. It always seems to fall on council meetings or they're nearby. So anyway, it's tomorrow, and just wanted to wish her a happy anniversary and many, many more years to come. Anybody else? Yes, Councilman Segura.
Well, in that light, I would just like to also wish her a happy anniversary. I don't know about you, but she's put on you.
You're right there. So thank you. Thank you. I'll thank you for her. Yeah, very good. So Al Morello, if you have comments, you're more than welcome.
We on that portion of the meeting now?
Well, we actually, Madam Clerk, we're going to, I guess, advance to that section.
Yes. Item 18 is new business. We have none. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Al Morello, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 49 years. China, Washington, D.C. virus numbers. Total tests done, 8,895,455. Positive cases, 516,187. Negative cases, 8,379,268. Recoveries, 638,443. Now I have a special mention, and I want to ask God to please bring our troops home from Afghanistan who was abandoned and are trapped. Not only our troops, but there are American civilians that are still there. This is the result of that culture of corruption in Washington, D.C. that maintains not a swamp, what we call in Louisiana, a cesspool. Now, I want to elaborate on some of my previous comments. And Tom, I want to say this to you. I want to quote one of your colleagues, former colleagues in Baton Rouge, Danny Martini. I'm not yelling, I'm talking loud. Now, I want to elaborate on some of my previous comments.
You got a booming voice, though, Mr. Al.
Yes, I do, and I thank God day and night for it. Now, I want to say this. We had issues a few months ago with our director of the former director of the finance department. A letter was submitted to the mayor, and it was submitted as it was presented to him as though it was a consensus of this council to take action, when in fact we find out the two council members up here wasn't even consulted. Now the debacle on June the 14th, once again we find out there was two councilmen who wasn't consulted. So this is why I'm looking at it through the lens I'm looking at it through. Now, I want to commend my representative in Baton Rouge, Debbie Villio, 79th District, for representing the will of the people of that district. I also want to commend my state senator, Kirk Talbot, for representing the will of the people of the senatorial 10th District. And thank them for not flip-flopping like so many colleagues did up there. And I'll elaborate on that at a future meeting. In closing, I want to thank Adam Campos. I want to thank Michael Claus. I want to thank the entire group back there in our IT department who's responsible for the video and audio of these council meetings. They've done an outstanding job on covering these meetings. And once again, I want to commend them and thank them for a job well done. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Al. I do have up next Mr. Greg Taft and next Stacy Alessandro. Would y'all be so kind to just wait just 1 minute and give Mr. Dote an opportunity and the mayor to
Mr. Chairman, can I just recognize Councilman Brennan? I think he has a response to the previous person that just spoke.
Go ahead.
I would like to make a comment that
yes,
I don't believe that letter that went to the administration was under the guise that it was a consensus, because the names of the council people who sent it appeared on that letter. So it wasn't a magic show. We weren't hiding anything. The names of the people that were on it were on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mayor, did you want to present Mr. Dote?
Sorry. Mr. Dote is here now. It's just an update on COVID, which we're still dealing with here in the city of Canton and elsewhere. So if you give Mr. Dote a few minutes under my mayor comments that are continued, Mr. Dote's here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dote?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Just to give you the most recent updates that we have about COVID this week, we've been receiving both the regional information. We've also participated in a parish level briefing on Tuesday, as well as the White House Task Force briefing on Wednesday. So just to go over a few stats, on the Wednesday, there were statewide, there were 6,060 cases, and 28% of those were children. On Thursday, another 5,500 new cases and 58 deaths statewide. And in Jefferson Parish, Thursday, 438 new cases in Jefferson Parish and 3 additional deaths. That's an average of 422 cases in 7 days in Jefferson Parish and 4 deaths in 7 days. Just a few minutes ago, the state released today's numbers as another 5,922 cases statewide with 67 deaths in Jefferson Parish, another 438 cases with 3 new deaths. Hospitalizations today have decreased very slightly, 14 down from yesterday, and 470 people are on ventilators. So earlier this week, the CDC announced that immunocompromised individuals would be able to get their booster shots, and there's a form that individuals can fill out indicating what type of condition they have. Also on Wednesday, the U.S. Surgeon General announced that booster shots for most Americans would begin around September 20th. That will be based on some additional FDA approvals, but it looks like that's coming down the pike, and that people will start getting those shots in the same manner that they got their initial shots. They'll be able to get those shots, those booster shots, about 8 months after they've received their first initial vaccination. Currently, Jefferson Parish has about a 16.3% positivity rate. That's actually come down a little bit over the last week or so, but some of the tracks we discussed last week last meeting, we talked about the tracks and how that's assessed, and some of the tracks in Kenner do have a higher rate. One of them has a little bit over 24%. So we do have some areas in Kenner. Now that fluctuates on a weekly basis based on the number of people being tested and the positivity rate, but we do have some areas that are testing a little higher than others. The Louisiana Department of Health assesses that not fully vaccinated persons account for about 91% of the COVID cases right now. Currently, there are about 3,013 people hospitalized, and regionally, the hospitals are planning for surge capacity while their number of acute care beds are getting small. I think I saw a statistic where most of the 9 regions, all but one of the 9 health regions in the state have less than 20% capacity of their ICU beds available. So that's attributable to some extent to staffing shortages and fatigue, and these contribute to the reduced capacity in our hospitals. Several large medical facilities in our area have temporarily curtailed medical procedures, including surgeries. There are currently about 28 locations in Kenner that individuals can get vaccinations, and that information is widely posted on the internet that people can find those locations quite easily. As far as the city goes, we're continually assessing our individual department and their services and capacity. And in light of the Delta variant spread in the community, as well as the peak of the hurricane season that's approaching very quickly, we are pivoting a little bit with respect to our continuity of operations and continuity of government plans. And we'll be assessing those activities over the next 2 weeks to see whether or not there's any additional measures we need to take. All of our operations are at full, are being provided at full service, so you will not see any diminishment in services. However, we are making adjustments to our EOC operations and those sorts of activities to ensure that we have enough staff in the field and in our incident management team in the event that we have a hurricane. I think that that probably gives a good overview of where we are. I just encourage everyone to remain weather aware as we approach the peak of the hurricane season. Obviously, we've been a little busy watching some storms in in the Atlantic and in the Gulf over the last few weeks, and that will continue over the next few months probably. So we want to make sure everybody and encourage everybody to prepare for those storms, as well as include in your considerations COVID and where it's taking us at this point. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Councilwoman McKinney, you have questions?
Yes, thank you, Council President. Director Dodd, I just want to request, if you could, my birthday's coming up in a couple of days, and I really don't want to have a hurricane on it again on August 29th. So I'm just requesting for you not, if you can have any control, just don't have a hurricane that day.
I'll put that request.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. No, it's not.
I see no other questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd. Next, we have Mr. Greg Taft.
Greg Taft, 3720 West Loyola Drive. I just got a couple comments that I want to bring to attention. Some of it was brought up earlier regarding the parking issue that we ran into with Kenner Discovery. But there's another little issue that I want to bring to mind because it's something that needs to be looked at. We also have a greater number of students walking to and from home. And if you go through some of the neighborhoods where the school is situated, where they're close by to walk, there is a tremendous amount of people that are blocking sidewalks, which means a child has to walk around the car onto the road, to go around the car to get back onto the sidewalk. The problem you have with that is if the child is short, they're not, number one, the driver won't see them in time to stop. But number two, that unfortunately we do also have a problem with speeders within the neighborhood, even during school hours. So what I'm saying is, if you want to prevent a possible accident, I don't know how to get it done, because it may take a tremendous amount of resource that we may not have, but we need to do something, whether we do it through social media or what have you, to let people know not to block the site, especially during the hours that students are going to and from school. The other thing I noticed is that the Kenner Discovery on the Vintage running on the east side, there is no sidewalk. The students are actually walking through the parking lot, going around the parking lot to be able to go home, especially those that live on West Loyola and homes down in that area. I don't know why it wasn't planned that the school would have put a sidewalk running parallel to the school on Vintage on the eastbound side. So that's the only two things I wanted to bring up, because I see it every day. Unfortunately, being retired, you get to see things you don't want to see necessarily, but I realize we can't put a patrolman in every neighborhood. That's unrealistic. We can't put code out there because code has been, you probably need about 10, 15 code people to canvass all the neighborhoods. Maybe there's a campaign, I don't know, that maybe the city can do to make people aware of this is what could happen to children if we don't do our part in keeping the thing clear. Plus, we do have code, but a lot of people, because of the housing, can't always, they're going to park where they have to. So we need to do something, but it's going to become, I'm afraid at some point there might be an accident. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taft. Councilman Brennan, you have questions?
Thank you. Just to respond to Mr. Taft's comment about the sidewalk, and I don't have it in front of me. I know there was money, grant money that's been given for sidewalks by Kenner Discovery. I don't remember the exact location, but we could certainly get that information for next meeting just to make that known. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor, you had something?
Yeah, that grant, we were able to get that grant through economic development. I believe it's on the Loyola and the Vintage side. We know Loyola for sure, but we're pretty sure it's going to be also the Vintage side. So it'd be both sides for the sidewalk. So.
Very good.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Stacy Alessandro. Name and address, please.
Stacy Alessandro, 3309 Chateau Boulevard. Couple of things. First, I'd like to thank all of the entire City Council once again for opening the or helping to open up the Musburtolino track. It's been awesome seeing so many friends and neighbors walk in. Thank you to everybody who had a hand in that. Okay, so moving on, I'd like to address Mr. Sternhill's question before he left. He was asking how many people can meet at a time, and multiple people said 3. That was very disturbing to me because on June 11, 2020, the Attorney General's office sent a letter to the Kenner City Council regarding open meetings complaints. I'd like to read you some excerpts from that letter regarding what his question was. And here goes. This is quotes from the letter. Mayor Zahn seemingly admits to participating in a walking quorum with members of the council. Around the 3-hour, 14-minute mark of the March 5th, 2020 meeting recording, Mayor Zahn recalls a speech he gave at the December 20th, 2019 meeting stating, I was making sure the council remembered when I met with 3 of you at a time, and Councilman Carroll was filled in later on by Deborah Fauché, that this is what Romelli and his reps have met us halfway with. If Mayor Zahn's statement is true, the council would have engaged in a prohibited walking quorum. Louisiana Revised Statute 4214 provides that every member of any public body shall be open to the public and prohibits any public body from utilizing any means to circumvent the intent of the Open Meetings Law. One way that public bodies can purposely circumvent the Open Meetings Law is through a walking quorum. A walking quorum is a procedural device used to have conversations with the quorum of the public body through multiple smaller conversations of less than a quorum, such as Mayor Zahn's conversations with 3 councilmen at a time. This is true even if the council is simply receiving information on a matter over which the council has supervision. So I just wanted to remind you guys of that. My next thing is that I want to talk about the firing of our city attorney. I'm still upset about that. That's the mayor's decision, and he has the right to hire and appoint and fire the city attorney, 100%. But the city attorney was not only his city attorney, it's the entire city attorney, public, all of us, all of you guys. The city attorney represents the entire city, all 65,000 of us, all 7 of you guys, everybody. Our city attorney, Lee Roussel, was doing an amazing job. Hence, we have a budget, don't we? You guys were right. She gave great advice. And then she was fired along with 3 other people. Assistant city attorney, the whole city attorney's office was decimated. Barely a blip from anybody because she dared to challenge the waste of getting outside counsel who did not give us the right, obviously she gave us the right opinion, and then it was just a blip at 2 meetings ago, like nobody spoke up about this or anything, like we're just gonna pretend like it was okay? This 4 people lost their income, their livelihood during COVID for no good reason, for doing an amazing job. I really think that that deserved a lot more discussion than it got. I mean, it got no discussion. And I think Lee Roussel deserves better than that.
Ms. Stacy, your 3 minutes are up, but I'll let you finish your thought.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I appreciate that. My last point was that questions for public recreation, parks and recreation. So I'd like to know, why did we close the recreation department in the Esplanade Mall without any warning? Most people don't even know it's closed. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars there renovating and getting it ready, and and it's closed without any warning. I think we need a public statement on that. And then I wanted to address the dismal way that the city handled closing the park on the second day of school for Kenner Discovery with no warning. They barricaded it off, 12 employees just standing around making sure no cars got in. I mean, that was a terrible way to handle it. Those second day of school, students parked there last year with no problem. They parked the first day of school, and then they get there, it's all barricaded off, they went home. I mean, that could have been handled a lot better. So,
Ms. Alessandro, your time's been up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you some latitude, and I did, so.
You did. Can I just ask one question, 5 seconds?
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to know, we have a liaison, a Kenner liaison from the mayor's office to the Kenner schools. Mr. Sherman seems to negotiate this thing. Did we pay him to do that? That's what I'd like to know. Did he get paid for that? Another outside counsel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alessandro. And do we have any reply?
Which one?
I
mean, I lost track of the accusations. I guess the last one was, no, Dave Sherman was called. Actually, our school board member, Sandy Annapolis, called me on Friday night and said, call Dave Sherman. I called Dave Sherman. He's on the board. He acted in his capacity as a board member. So no, he was not compensated for that. The school board liaison she's speaking of is Mr. Danny Ream. Councilman Brennan and I were in contact with Danny Ream through this, but this was something that Dave Sherman went ahead and handled as a board member of the school board. I mean, a few of us were involved in this. Chrissy was involved. Tom, you were involved somewhat. I, myself, and also Councilman Brennan. Is there another question? I mean, it was, like I said, I lost track.
She had multiple.
I know. It's just, it's hard to keep up with them. Do you remember?
I know some, but I'd rather either.
Oh, I do know one thing. We just finished the move this past week, and I was going to have Mr. Pitfield give a report in my mayor comments, but because we haven't finalized everything, it's going to be on the next council agenda. And anyone who attended gymnastics or any program at the Esplanade Mall Gymnastics Center, they were notified for in advance. So, I mean,
So that's forthcoming, though, a report on next meeting.
Yeah, but I mean, just so you know, if you have a child or anyone or a grandchild in that program, you were notified of the move. I think the move speaks for itself. When we having to cut grass at the taxpayer's dime and put a lien against the property, I think we see doomsday coming, right? So if we don't move it, we get criticized for not moving it. But the most important groups to be notified on that move was absolutely the parents, and they were in a timely manner. Okay?
Councilman Brannigan.
Yes, on the move out of recreation, I want to make sure everyone's clear that the monies that I put up when we moved in was $50,000. It was all movable stuff, so we're not losing a penny on that. And in relation to the city attorneys, what happened, I really believe that the administration should have let the council and the chief of police know what was going down before it happened. Thank you.
Councilman Carroll, you have the floor, sir.
Thank
you. Right.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Ms. Alessandro, just to let you know, I did write a letter and gave my personal opinions that I posted on Facebook as it related to that situation. So that's my answer to that question. Also, Mayor, I'm glad that Mr. Pitfield will be giving a report. I would also like to ask the Recreation Director also to be here that day, and I will forward Ms. Foshi some questions that I have just to give him so he's able to be prepared for some of the things, and that way it's not coming out of the blue. We'll be able to address it, but it'll be good for him to come, show his face, introduce himself to the public. I would appreciate it if he can come as well. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman.
And I do want to add, I remember back to the day, and you and I had discussion on it. You may have been council president at the time. Everything that went into the gymnastics center, he's correct. I think it was about 50,000 from you. I think the administration had some monies that went into it also, but you did stress, and I think along with Councilman Carroll, make sure everything is movable. Right. So we did listen to that, and everything down to the floor is movable. So that's a very good point. I think you handled the equipment. I think we handled the other things in there, and everything that the equipment was moved, and also down to the floor, anything else was able to be moved. We did leave the walls, but the walls actually were used. So if anybody sees the walls, I'm sure that'll be the next comment. The walls are still up, but they belong to Old Navy / the mall. So we left those petition walls up. If we had petition walls that we had in the cubicles, those were able to go with us. So any build out was actually taken for the most part.
Paddings, mirrors, and flooring were all...
Yeah, and we had talked about that quite often. I think you questioned that at the council meeting. We made sure that the floor could be... Look, it takes a while to put it down and take it up, but we were able to take it back, so...
Yes.
Along with the equipment.
Very good. Councilwoman McKinney.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council President. I guess my only question is, and I don't think I know that the Recreation Director is going to give the update next week, but where has it been relocated?
Everyone was notified that attended there, the parents, to the Woodward Gym.
Okay, my daughter wasn't registered currently, but she loves gymnastics, so that's why I was asking that question.
And we'll give the report for the, of how we're going to reorganize and get it back up and running. But the parents know that for sure.
Okay. The parents of
the children
of just the one who were registered in gymnastics.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Currently.
Councilman Brannigan, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, and with the equipment move, I thought it was a really good thing to give these children new equipment to use. And I think I told Mr. Pitfield that I don't want to pay for any paint because it's hard to get it off the walls. So, no, we got 100% out, and that was the right way to do it. Thank you.
Looks like that completes all questions that we have in a queue and from the public. And next we move to a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion? Have a second? We're adjourned.